Hello and welcome to Enchantment of Eternities, a live discussion talking about House of the Dragon, Season 3, Episode 1. Oh shit, what was the title? It was like Salt and Sea, Fire and Blood, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Salt and Sea, Fire and Blood. Yes.
Salt and Sea, Fire and Blood. I'm of course joined by the regulars who so greatly rejoined me again for another season of House of the Dragon coming up. First, my sister apparently got promoted to a queen. Queen Alyssa, thanks so much for joining.
I didn't get promoted. You don't get promoted to queen. It's my birthright, Mark. Anyways, it's really great to be here to talk about House of the Dragon again. I'm excited to have you back, and I'm so excited to dive into it with you all.
Cool. And also, Darrin. Darrin, thanks so much for joining.
Yeah, I feel bad I didn't come up with any clever names today. I really feel like I'm falling behind. But I am really excited to be here for Season 3. Talk a little bit more of the Return to Westeros. And I'm really, really curious on both your takes for this first opening episode. So looking forward for tonight's discussion.
Yeah, so the first thing I really want to talk about is that how Season 2 was received, because if anyone had been watching our streams for Season 2, which was 2 freaking years ago, anyone who watched our streams for that know that we were rather disappointed with not to speak for you guys, but I'm pretty sure what I recall, our biggest complaint was the pacing. And that was my biggest complaint, and the fact that the season kind of ended like in the middle without like having an actual finale. And I've heard other people like complain about other things, like certain book changes and stuff that I'm sure we'll get into. And for most of those that I heard, like, I didn't care. Like, I'm fine. There is a book change this episode, which I have an issue with. But a lot of the other stuff that people have been complaining about, I've been perfectly okay with. I'm fine. My only issue, and it was the main issue with Season 2, was the pacing. Like, they say that, HBO cut it short 2 episodes and there was a writer's strike, so they were screwed, so they had to film with 2 episodes missing the season. But then that's not what Ryan Condal says. He says we never intended to have the Battle of the Gullet in Season 2. That was always going to be in Season 3. So, and I hear other reviewers talk like it's a fact that it was the Battle of Gullet was supposed to be in Season 2. So I don't fucking know. But regardless, like, even if that was true, that there were 2 episodes cut off, the pacing still sucked. We spent most of the season with Corlys standing by a ship and Daemon and freaking Harrenhal having visions. And from what I hear, Season 3 is going to be different. It's going to like get to the point. It's not going to meander. It's not going to have the pacing issues. And after this first episode, I think it looks good for that. That was my biggest takeaway, is that the pacing is going to be better this year. And maybe because regardless of what happened to the last 2 episodes, it is known that Season 2, when they were writing it, they thought they were going to have 10 episodes. So when they wrote this, they knew they were going to have 8. So I think they'd better plan for 8. And I think there's a lot that they can get to without having to have Daemon have visions for fucking, sit around having visions for the whole entire season. So I'm very hopeful. I think this is a very good start. I know I've watched several reviews where people said this felt like episode 9 of Season 2. And I definitely get that, because episodes 9 usually when they had the huge battle thing, and that's what happened in this episode. But I think it's actually kind of refreshing to have a season premiere that like gets right to the point, because Game of Thrones particularly had the habit of episode 1 and the first episode of the season is it's you set the stage, you get everything going, and you have a lot of talking scenes and you set things up for later on. I like just getting straight to the fucking point, which actually, quite frankly, was needed for the fact that there wasn't real finale last season, is that they needed to get straight to the point. And plus, I feel like the first half of the episode did feel like a season premiere. It did feel like we were getting reorientated with the characters and doing the necessary setup. So it's not like it was, Game of Thrones season 8 type, just fast plot. There was a lot of good character stuff here. So overall, I was happy with this episode. Alyssa, let's go to you next.
Yeah, and my complaint was not as much of the pacing, although the pacing was an issue. But if they had had a true finale, I would have been okay. Like, I think even with the pacing up through episode 7, they still could have had a real finale. And there was not a true finish. And maybe I'm wrong, but I thought Ryan Condal, in addition to saying that he was never going to do the Battle of the Gullet, I thought he said they were always planning to do 8 episodes. And they did plan to do 8 episodes this year. So I don't know. But I do strongly feel that after seeing this episode, especially, that this should have been season 2, episode 9. It should have been the penultimate episode, and then they could still have a 10th episode after that. I don't care about any of the excuses. I think that they should have damn well had this as season 2, episode 9. I don't know if they just didn't like, they're trying to differ themselves from the original show, although they're using the same theme song, so maybe they're not. But it's like, I don't know, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Like, that's a formula that worked really well through the first 6 seasons of Game of Thrones. I think that's a formula that would have worked really well for season 2, to have this be the episode 9, the big battle scene. And then I have ideas for other things that could have happened in episode 10, but those would be spoilery. But I still feel that I was robbed of season 2 having a true ending and having any sort of really climactic battle or anything like that in season 2. However, after having seen this episode, season 2's loss is season 3's gain. So. And I agree with what you were saying, Mark, that I do like that they started off the season with a bang like that. And I mean, I don't know. This is my opinion. I think that this is clearly the best season premiere in Game of Thrones, because usually they do, like you said, they're bridging the gap between seasons. They're kind of catching up with the characters. And then we're putting chess pieces in place for the rest of the season, which, as we said, the first half of this episode does do that as well. And I think they did a pretty good job of it. Like, I think if it was just that and there wasn't the Battle of the Gullet, I would still be saying it's a pretty solid premiere as far as premieres go for Game of Thrones. It did its job, catching up with the characters, setting pieces in motion, and those sorts of things. But then to have this epic battle in the first episode is something Game of Thrones has never done before. So it's kind of, what's the saying? Rob Peter to pay Paul, something like that. Like, you're taken from season 2, but season 3 is benefiting from it. And I've said this many times before, but being familiar with the source material, House of Dragon is at its best when it takes something from the source material, which is written like a history book. And they're just basically like, this happens, and then this happens, and then this happens, and then this happens. They take text that's written from a history book, like a history book perspective, and add life to it, add character development, add visuals that stun you, and add all these different things to it to make it just really come to life. I'm listening to the audiobook version of Fire and Blood right now, just to catch myself up with where the book is, and I just listened to the Battle of Gullet on the audiobook this morning, and I think it took them 3 or 4 minutes maybe to describe the whole battle. Maybe 2 minutes of that was talking about Jace's death. So it's just really like, this happens, and then this happens, and this happens. And then you see it on screen, and this epic sea battle, like the likes of which Game of Thrones has never done before. I would visually, I put it up there with a lot of. I'm not going to compare it specifically to any battles, but I would put it up in that same category. But then you add in like the con of it all. What's her Lohar? I think is the name. Shakara Lohar or something. She's played by Abigail Thorne, who's a great trans actually YouTuber and actress. And she's like, just going, "Cock, I will follow you to the gates of hell." Like I like that shit, and we get to finally see the sea snake actually showing that he has nautical skills. He's not just standing around a dock talking to people. Like we've been told that he's this great, seafarer, sailor, whatever. We've been told this, but we actually get to see that on screen, and then to the relationship between him and his bastard son, Alan of Hull, and like that was kind of we saw some of that set up last season, but now we see their relationship starting to evolve, and I found it really interesting that you see Alan of Hull when he thinks his father is dead, is like, "Father!" and like goes and kills Lohar. I thought that was very interesting, giving him the kill rather than the sea snake, and all of that stuff. And there are changes from the book, which we will get into, that some of which people have complained about. I'm curious to hear what your complaint is, Mark, because I actually don't have a problem with any of the changes from the book at all. And there's one we'll get into a little bit later that I've heard the most complaints about, even going back to season 2, because it is one that I already predicted was going to be a change. And I don't know if you guys know Pete Peppers, the YouTuber. He did a whole video just bitching about this change from the book that I personally, not only does it not bother me, I actually think it was a smart decision. Sorry, it's probably going to be a controversial statement, but we'll get into that a little bit more. And then I think we'll also get into a little bit more the change of Jace's death. Is actually, just listening to it today, almost exactly as it's described in the book, but the precursor to the death, the thing that happened with him, Rhaenyra, ahead of time was different, and for me that worked too. But we'll get into that. So I liked the changes from the source material, like this just dry text where it's just describing this event, and in the book they're describing it from 3 different perspectives. There's 3 different people who wrote about the history, so they're like, Septon Eustace says this happened, and then Mushroom the dwarf says this happened, and and then just take all the time. Like that's what takes up most of the time, is like describing it from 3 different perspectives, but it's like you get nothing. You get there's nothing rich about it. It doesn't feel alive the way that House of the Dragon does when it is at its best. That's what it does. So I really enjoyed this episode. It makes me hopeful that we maybe even will make up for the lack of of pacing and the lack of ending in season 2. Maybe we can get a little better in season 3. This gives me hope, having seen this first episode.
All right. Well, cool. You're right. They did use the actual same entry music for Game of Thrones in this, but it was like more percussion. I think it said there was like dun 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 dun, really big. It's like it's almost trying too hard. And that to me kind of felt like this opener. And not that it is bad, but Mark, like you said, it was 2 years ago that we had season 2. And normally when I've got a new season come in, I'll go rewatch. Sometimes I'll watch the whole thing from the beginning. Sometimes I'll just watch the last season, or at least some good catch up. I didn't really have time to do that. So I felt like, okay, I am coming in kind of like somebody was like, oh yeah, House of Dragon, let's go and check this out. And I guess I was kind of leaning on to the little recap bit that they do ahead of time. But I think, like we had talked about so much last season, because of the pacing issues, that was almost more confusing to me than if they had just jumped right in, because they're showing all these little bits, and all I'm like is like, man, they're not touching on Daegon up freaking out at Harrenhal right now, like at all, or Daemon, sorry, his whole dream sequence there, and it's like there are some things that I had remembered, and some things I was like, well, they're not really touching on that. Okay, let's get into it. And yes, they did differ from Game of Thrones, and I am not criticizing them getting into action. First off, I think this really was the best choice that they could do, especially considering that we didn't get it last season. But I think in that regard, it really does feel like that climactic battle for last season, because I felt like all of the characters and all their positioning and all their motivations was very much set up, and then we kind of jump right into it, and all I'm remembering is like, right, the new Dragonlighter, wait a minute, why are they waiting right here? Okay, oh, that's right, because they're waiting, so it took me some time to catch up to where everybody was. Now, by the time we got to Battle of the Gullet, I was pretty firmly invested in at that point, and I did really like that action. I think it is my favorite part of the episode. But I think even then, overall, they're kind of like last season. There's still some pacing issues. There's some ways that they shot that chase scene. To me, its buildup was very back and forth, because they did like his part of driving through the Gullet, and then they cut away, and I'm like, oh, so I guess we're not going to worry about the people that's chasing. And then they did this whole other scene, and then they're like, okay, now we're back in the Gullet, and I'm like, oh, so now we're going to see what's going on. It's like it really kind of messed with, to me, how some of the tension in the battle carried forward. And then, man, they just don't want to treat Rhaenyra like well at all, do they? They just literally lock her in the room. And am I wrong? Was she pulling like splinters out of her hand that I'm assuming from banging at the door? I don't remember, I was trying to figure out what it was that she was exactly doing there, but I mean, look, I know I am kind of complaining, and there's reasons. I did like this. I did like that we actually finally got some action and we got some movement forward. And I think if they continue this pace forward, I think it's going to make a big difference with this season. But it really does feel like they took the finale battle of the last one and just plucked it over into this. And I think the time to the old Game of Thrones had a structure. And yeah, the first episode was like this in the setup, and then they did all this, and then, by the second to last episode was the big action, and then they moved to the this. And yes, and it's good to mix that up, but there's also a reason why you do that for the audience that didn't have time to rewatch the last season and to catch up. And that was only a year in between each season, and this was 2 years. Maybe they could have used that. But hey, if they're going to jump right into battle and move forward and switch that up from last season, I'm still on board. I'm all about it.
All right. Yeah, so let's go ahead and jump into the episode, into specifics. So let's start with Rhaena claiming sheep stealer. I got my username. I was trying to come up with something clever, and I could like cat stealer or something, but I didn't want to imply that I eat cats. So I was like, I don't know, I'll just go with sheep stealer. So let's just talk about the first couple scenes where she's like, trying to get to know him. We'll get to her part in the Battle of Gullet a bit later. But as far as these couple scenes, like, I think there's a balance, the way I look at it, because so this is one that changes in the books. I think we talked about it before, about how there was another character that they cut out of the show who claimed Sheep Stealer, and the way this character claimed Sheep Stealer was by just feeding it sheep slowly over time, and so they changed it to put Rhaena and say, no, Rhaena's going to be the one who claims Sheep Stealer, and I'm fine with that. I think that's okay, but where the balance comes in is because they emphasized it was a wild dragon, and that's why she had to like slowly like feed it sheep and get it to trust her. This seems a little fast. It seems like she showed up, started singing, and then all of a sudden was able to climb on its back. Now, I do know at the end of the episode they do show that she had no control over the dragon, which is, all good, which is fair, but the fact that I don't know that she was able to write it at all, even if she had no control, seemed to happen rather quickly. But as I said, it's like a balance, because on the other hand, like, maybe this gets back into the pacing with the previous season, because maybe if they spent some time last season sort of slowly developing this, go have a 1-2 minute scene in an episode and say, oh, this is her hanging out with Sheep Stealer, to imply she had been there for a really long time. Maybe this would feel more natural to me, but it felt like, because she first saw Sheep Stealer at the very end of the last finale last season, so it feels like her going from that to immediately climbing on the back seemed rather quick to me. And I guess you could say it's implied there was a lot of time off screen, but I don't know. I still had that feeling, but it's a balance, because on the other hand, we don't want to spend, like, especially at this point, we don't want to spend 3 episodes with her just hanging out with Sheep Stealer. We do kind of want to get to the point. So I don't have like too big of an issue with it. It's funny. And the other thing I was going to mention about this is, I'm sure you guys heard about George R.R. Martin having a little bit of a spat with Ryan Condal over the changes he made in the show. And one of the things he mentioned was, the dragon would never go to the Vale. The dragon would just hang around King's Landing area. And, I'll be perfectly blunt. That pisses me off that he has the nerve to complain about something so minor and doesn't really matter, and yet says nothing about the fact that they completely turned his masterwork into a piece of dog shit. Not a peep about the final 2 seasons of Game of Thrones, but no, let's bitch about dragons shouldn't go to the Vale. Who cares? I'm sorry. I'm gonna be blunt. I don't care that he's the writer of the work. That's a dumb thing to worry about. Well, they go to the Vale in the show. There, that's fine. So I have no issue. And to be clear, I don't mind the fact that they changed the writer of Sheep Stealer. Like, I think that makes sense. You want to you got to consolidate characters for the show. So I don't have an issue with that. I just had a slight issue with how quickly she was able to do it. But again, that's not a deal breaker. I don't really care that much. But anyway, Alyssa, we'll go to you next.
Yeah, this was a change from the book that I was referring to. And I actually, for season 2, I did prediction videos. I don't have a channel anymore, so I didn't do prediction videos. But I saw this coming from miles away, that they were going to cut Nettles, who's the character who gets Sheep Stealer in the book. Just cut that character out and have Rhaena write Sheep Stealer instead. To me, it made all the sense in the world to make that change. And I actually did a prediction video. I believe I predicted this to happen in episode 6, I think. And so the pacing was much slower than I think I predicted the Battle of Gullet to be in episode 7. So like the pacing was way slower than I had predicted it to be. And as far as it seeming a little bit too fast, I do blame season 2 for that, because I think if they had at least introduced her with Sheep Stealer, not just finding him for the first time at the end of the episode, but like earlier in episode 8 or maybe even episode 7, and so then we can say, okay, now time has passed and she has been gradually getting to know Sheep Stealer. I'm okay to just wave my hand and go, well, she's got Targaryen blood and she speaks to it in old Valyrian tongue, and that works. That's fine. Like I do agree. It would have been better if they had introduced, if they actually had her get Sheep Stealer in episode 6, like I predicted, and uh, and and then kind of built up to this point. But yeah, I am not super worried about it. To me, it really makes all the sense in the world to give this to Rhaena. And this is the thing that I saw that I was talking about, that YouTuber Pete Peppers made a whole video, like in the thumbnail says huge mistake, and I don't know. Nettles. I'm listening to the audiobook again, and Nettles is not that important. Like, she really isn't. And it's funny to me that like people get so attached to these characters that are not developed at all in the book, because it's like a history book. Like, why are people attached to this character? I know that Nettles was described as being a person of color in the book, and then cut out the person of color could be problematic, except that they changed the whole Valerian family into people of color, that they're not in the book. So Sheep Stealer is still written by a girl who's a person of color. So I just don't see where the problem is with that. We will get into later on what happens in the battle, because that is obviously another change, because Rhaena doesn't even ride Sheep Stealer in the source material. And I think people had a huge problem with that as well, but we'll get to that when we get to it. But as far as Rhaena riding Sheep Stealer, I could put the pacing more in season 2, honestly. And I'll be curious of what Darrin will say, like not remembering anything, because honestly, what I did was I was trying to rewatch seasons 1 and 2, and then things happened, and I think I got to episode 4 of season 1, and I still probably will rewatch them all before this season is over. But what I ended up doing was watching a recap video on YouTube where somebody just, these are all the things that you need to know coming into season 3. I watched one of those videos, and it was very helpful for me to like jog my memory. And then for me, I started also listening to the audiobook of the source material, so that is helping me. That helped me a lot. But yeah, I'll be curious, like, if you don't remember things that happened, like, who's this again? Like, what is she? Who is she? Like, what is happening here? Like, I could definitely. It was an interesting choice of how to start the episode, but I think when we see how important it is later, it makes sense to me that they started with that. And I'll turn it over to you, Darrin.
Yeah. No, did actually remember, because I remember that was kind of that big final scene I think we had last season, was the dragon popping up and so on. So I remembered they had done this. And I had heard that they had made some changes with character stuff, but look, that happens in shows all the time. Look at The Expanse. But to me, I think it's smarter to do this because you have all of these characters. They need to do something or you're not going to remember. You know, it's important to kind of narrow things down, especially on something that is so epic and has so many spinning wheels and so many characters. So, you know, using Rhaena for this seemed perfectly fine for me. It was a bit fast. I agree with you that it was just like, wow, you found this dragon. And I love how messed up that dragon looks too, by the way. I think that is a warren, that is a damaged dragon. That dragon's got a story. So I was kind of cool with that. And yeah, you know, you're going with the old Valyrians. There's discussions, you know, connections with dragons. So the fact that she kind of got on quick enough, that didn't really bother me. I think though, what would have worked is kind of an overall thing, and yeah, we'll get to the battle part, is yeah, she didn't have a lot of control, but it was like she did and she didn't, and then she thinks she does, and then I think it was maybe more of a struggle from the beginning. I would have been a little bit more in with her choice to go fly off later on, but I mean, again, I didn't know about the character change, so I don't have any connection with that. As always, does the show work in the way that they present and do everything? Yeah, this works for this character. And I remember they worked a little bit of her motivation, and she's trying to find her spot, and I get that. But yeah, I think they just moved it on because this character had to be somewhere by this point in the episode. So I think, for me, that's just the reason why they just did the courtship between her and the dragon, as quick as they did.
Yeah, that's fair. So this is so Alyssa, you said that this was the one that Pete Peppers made a whole video complaining about Nettles being cut from the show. I think that's ridiculous. I don't really see that Nettles is that important to the story. I think that's a character that could easily be rearranged. And I heard some theories about who would take over what she does later in the book. Obviously, it wouldn't be Rhaena, and that makes sense to me. So now I think that's a ridiculous thing to complain.
Yeah, well, we can. Excuse me. We're doing a spoiler section at the end, Mark?
Yes.
Okay. We can get into what Nettles does in the book, and yeah, we got someone in the chat. Dude, which is it's just opinion. Like, it's not knowing what you're talking about or not knowing what you're talking about. It's my opinion. It's your opinion. We'll get into a little bit later about why she's not that important. She really is not that important. Like, in the grand scheme of things, like of what the story is about, she was a very cuttable character. And that is my opinion, but we'll get into it more when we get into the spoiler section. But yeah, I think it makes so much sense to give that story to Rhaena, because Rhaena is one of the characters who needs more to do than what she does in the book, which is pretty much nothing. Like so it made so much sense to me to do that. And yeah, it's interesting that, as always, Darrin, to hear your perspective, not knowing like what character is supposed to be doing what and what, just like looking at it as how the show is presenting it, which I think is a very important perspective, because and that's how I was coming into A Night of Seven Kingdoms, because I had read the first book years and years ago and just had no memory of it at all. So I was like really looking at it basically from the point of view of someone who didn't know the source material. And I think it is important that this show, any of these Game of Thrones, anything that's based off of a book, is able to appeal to both fan bases, and you're not going to please everybody all the time. But I do think it's really important for people who don't know what's supposed to happen in the book, for them to be able to follow it too.
Oh yeah, no, I mean, and that's why I've always loved these discussions so much, is because I don't have as much of that book knowledge, so I can bring a particular perspective, and then you guys can bring a particular perspective, and it allows us to, again, kind of mix and see, do the changes work? And from my point of view, it's like, not knowing any of this stuff, I don't have to be tied to, oh, did they ruin this one character motivation? I know I mentioned The Expanse before, but I know that the whole season 5 bit of Cara G's character was given to a total different character in the book, and that's a brilliant change to make, because you can't keep having too many characters. You have people that you have characters and actors that people are connected to, and that works in order to tell the story forward. The difference is like, do you still keep the same motivations? Do you still keep the same spirit of what that part of the story is contributing? And to me, I think that they totally do this.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a very good point and very good comparison. It's fun because I was reading a lot of because there's a lot of critics that got the first 4 episodes, and most it had a really high score on Rotten Tomatoes, and a lot of the general critics loved it, so that made me look forward to it. Then I heard about hardcore, George R. R. Martin Game of Thrones fans, and they're like, oh, I'm mixed on it because these changes from the book that I think are terrible. And I think I just got the impression there is, as I mentioned, one thing that kind of bothers me, but not that much. But I get the impression that it's not going to bother me at all. That these changes from the book aren't really going to bother me because I'm more willing to just judge the show on its own merits. And if the show's awesome, then it's going to be great. But anyway, let's go ahead and move on to the next topic, which is Aegon fleeing King's Landing. We see Aemon freaking out and almost chopping the maester's head off because he assumed it was him. And then we see Aegon with Larys. I do wonder when Larys is like, I'm sorry, in my haste, I forgot to bring the milk of the puppy. Wonder if he did that on purpose. I think it might. I don't know if it's just like to fuck with him, or is it like he's purposely trying to like build character or something with him. But anyway, they get stopped by Rhaenyra's people, and that was a tense scene though when they were like bend the knee and you know, to their true queen, and it was interesting that he couldn't do it even to save his life. And then at first I didn't understand why Larys outed him, but then it's like, then I thought about it, it made sense because they were about to be killed. So that was the one thing he could do to delay their deaths, is to just be like, oh, you know, no, actually that's Aegon right here. Here's his crown. So yeah, so this is interesting. It's another change from the book. I don't think it's too spoilery to say that in the book we actually don't see Aegon again until much later in the story, and that was one of the debates I was having, I think last year, of whether or not we actually were going to see Aegon in season 3, and I thought we would, because I thought that he's a main character in this show, couldn't just skip a season with him. So and I like the idea, and I'm interested to see what they do with it. Alyssa, let's get to you.
Yeah, and first of all, I will say that 100% Larys did that on purpose. Like, oh, I seem to have forgotten the milk of the puppy. He doesn't make mistakes like that. Everything is intentional with this guy. I think it's about control for him. So, yeah, I think in Aegon and Pain, it gives Larys more of in the power position there. I think that's all there is to it. Yeah, and I was a bit confused for a second of why he turned Aegon in, and like why he was like, oh, this is Aegon right here. But it does make sense that was his last. I mean, they were about to kill them, so that was the last thing that he could do. I saw another review saying that Aegon is just stupid and he should have just bent the knee. But I mean, I kind of see his point of view. Like, when you're the king or the queen, like, I don't think Rhaenyra, I don't know if she would have done it in his place either. I don't know. Maybe she would have, but like, it's a hard thing to do. I get it, but I agree with you, Mark, that I always did expect that they would have Aegon in season 3. I don't think you just drop a character out like that, like you do, like they did in the book. And so this is all new. It makes it very interesting to me. I don't know what's going to happen with them. I mean, I know where Aegon ends up if they follow the book in that way. But the in-between stuff, like, we don't know. So this is like, I find it really. I was actually disappointed that they kind of cut away from that for the rest of the episode. That we'll get back to them presumably in the next episode. But they did have a lot of ground to cover, so it makes sense that they had a lot to cover. Yeah, I'm really curious to see what happens with Mr. Aegon and the Clubfoot there.
Larys and Aegon are going to have an adventure. Which I'm fine, honestly, Game of Thrones, they've had many adventures of many characters doing fun things, so I'm totally down with this. And yes, of course, Larys forgot it intentionally. And it could totally be a control thing. I would see that with him. I also kind of felt like, dude, I need you functional. In some manner. And, pain is something that you can go on, especially coming from Clubfoot Larys. Like, dude, you can deal with your discomfort. I need you actually functional. And he certainly can't carry him if he's all poppied out and stuff like that. So, to me, it's almost a more practical approach. And yeah, if it gets him in a little bit more, position of power over him, that's going to be helpful. The bending of the knee thing, honestly, what came to me first was like, because he's so burnt and injured that he honestly just couldn't, had physical difficulty trying to drop to a knee, like it would be an act of effort. Yes, of course he's royalty and he can't fake it, and that's sort of a character thing. And yeah, Larys did not have any other choice but to go ahead and make that choice, as we saw with the guys behind him just getting totally like, well, we don't need these guys. What's their loyalty? Doesn't matter at this point. And so, yeah, does he end up getting over to Dragonstone? I doubt it. I don't know where he ends up in the book because I haven't read that. But if there's anything that this episode really kind of underlines, is things do not work out the way that you plan them to or want them to. Yeah, I think that's a theme maybe throughout most of this episode.
Yeah, I saw another YouTube video that mentioned that as well. I think that's a very clear theme that, like, you can think of several examples where things are not working out the way the characters want them to or expect them to.
Yeah,
and again, that's how you have an adventure.
Yeah, I don't know. I took the not bending the knee. Sure, it might have been painful to do it, but I think, like, he could have done it, like, slowly. I think the not doing was purposely the fuck that I can't even pretend to. It's not just like bend the knee because he's loyal, but to like, say that Rhaenyra is the true queen, and to what's the word they use? Something to disclaim or say that Aegon's a pretender or usurper or something. Like, I just think he physically could not bring himself to do it, even to save his life.
Oh yeah, no, I think it's totally a character judgment on Aegon for that, for sure. It's just the first thing that came to my mind was like, oh, this is going to be hilarious because he probably just can't even do it. But you're right. It's definitely more of a character thing. Is that it's like he can't even pretend to bend fealty.
Yeah. All right. So we'll get into all the Alicent scenes. Yeah. So I thought that's funny because I heard like a couple different opinions on this. Because I heard like some people were liked at the fact that she's being manipulative again and that she's taking agency, and another complaint was like, oh well, she's being very obvious on her face that what she was really thinking, so Aemon should have seen right through her. I don't think that's true. It was being obvious on her face when Aemon was not looking at her, when they couldn't see her, which I think was actually good acting, because that tells the audience of what she's really thinking. But I think she was actually really good at putting on a facade. But this is another. I don't know if this is another. This is another massive change from the book that people have been complaining about, which I don't care. Which is the whole thing about Alicent making the deal with Rhaenyra to take over King's Landing, and in fact, even willing to give up her son to her. That's one major complaint I've heard people whining about in season 2, and quite frankly, I like it. I think it's better. I think it makes the characters more interesting than they were in the books, and plus, as you mentioned in the book, it was like a history retelling, and so they just come off as like, evil. Oh, I want this person dead, and it's more interesting to me that there's an interesting dynamic here. So I like that they're doing it, and so she's trying to manipulate Aemon the way she would manipulate Aegon, and interesting hearing her talk to Helena, who sort of use her magical powers to give her insight that no, he's scared too, and so that her trying to use that, and when she says, "I know you're scared," he's like, "I'm not scared," and then she realizes, okay, he's not going to admit it, so let's say, "Of course you're not scared," but this is, you need to go up and kill him because this is the best tactical move or whatever, and then of course we get. I don't know. There's a lot of competition, but you could call it the creepiest scene in the whole show. Where he kisses his own mother. That's actually in character for him because we've seen that, and this is something we talked about in previous seasons, that Alicent was a very absentee mother. She did not show any affection and love to Aemon, and that had really affected him. So that's why he went and sought prostitutes who were older. So he kind of is fucked up in that way where he doesn't really know how to relate, and he has mommy issues. And so and this is like the one scene when they were kissing, they showed Alicent's side where Aemon couldn't see her, and she was like, what the fuck? But when Aemon was looking at her, she was like, he's trying to smile and be like, yeah, of course, like, because she was trying to manipulate him. But yeah, she was like, yeah, what the hell is wrong with him? But it does lead me back to, it is kind of her fault for the way that she raised him. But yeah, he turned up a bit fucked up. So I thought it was an interesting scene. And when they did the kiss, I'm like, oh yeah, this is Game of Thrones, all right. Yeah, it wouldn't be Game of Thrones without incest in some way. But anyway, Alyssa, we'll get to you next.
Yeah, and I think the scenes with Alicent work because she really knows how to play him. Like she has to kind of recalibrate, rethink, because she's no, okay, I'm not going to be able to manipulate Aemon the same way I manipulated Aegon because he's a different person. So I love how she really feeds into his ego and says, I wish you were born first, and like you're the better son, and all the things that feed into like exactly what he likes to hear, and um, especially with somebody with mommy issues, for him to hear those things is probably like, oh, he's eating that up. And so I don't think, even if he was looking at her, I don't think that he would notice the facial expressions that, as you said, were intended for the audience to see, because he's hearing what he wants to hear. Yeah, I really enjoyed these scenes. Do I think that the kiss was probably not necessary? Yeah, but it's Game of Thrones, as you said. Like they gotta throw in like a weird incense scene, and I don't think it was like completely without merit or completely without reason. It does demonstrate, what they have been building with this character is that he has these mommy issues, that he's been seeking um, motherly love in other places, going to prostitutes who are older than him, and so that's how he thinks of motherly affection, is this prostitute. So he's just fucked up dude. It doesn't know how to express love to his mother. So it's not totally like just out of the blue, but it is like, you know, it's a Game of Thrones, and I'm not going to make a big fuss about it. It is what it is.
Yeah, it's how you underline. It's like, remember, Aemon's really nasty, and he's a Targaryen. So yeah, let's just underline that there with a little bit of incest kiss. I did love Alicent's little side thing, like, yeah, and then the turn of like, maybe I'm going a little too far, but look, she already stepped in it. She's doing the whole manipulation and the whole complimenting, and you should have been first, and you're so big and strong. I she kind of had to go that way. It's like she's already committed at that point. I also don't think that she is clever enough to do the kind of like tease bit and back and forth and stuff and really work that energy. I think she is at this point so and I think it works for her character. I'm not saying that this was like a bad choice. I think the fact that she returns to the castle and immediately her plans are screwed up. It's like she immediately has to go because Aegon's supposed to be there. Aemon's supposed to be off. We're supposed to be opening, and Rhaenyra's going to come, and we're going to end all of this, and it's going to be great. And as soon as she walks in, it's all messed up, especially seeing Aemon on the throne. So he abdicated. How? But that is also Aemon's, bit, and I think it does underline his underlying fear of actually going up against his uncle. I think he even says that, he doesn't think that he can win, and it takes her to kind of, convince him that this is possible and this is a thing to do. So, I mean, it all of it worked because I think they have done the character stuff to establish all of this thing. I mean, even the kiss again, it's underlying how messed up Aemon kind of is and how almost out of her league Alicent is in trying to do all of this manipulation. But she's panicking because she's just made a deal to end the war, and that is already about to fail. Not that we know anything about ending of war is about to fail or anything like that. Sorry, go on.
Sorry. Okay. Yeah. So let's get to the next bit with the dragon seeds, the bastards waiting. So this is again is a change from the books, because in the books they were actually at the Battle of Gullet, but it makes sense seeing what they did with the Battle of Gullet that they would have they need to be elsewhere. So apparently they're waiting in the Riverlands for Aemon to show up and to set a trap and to kill Vhagar, which I'm pretty sure was not mentioned. I don't remember her just being mentioned in season 2. It just felt like they were just there. At first, it took me a while to realize like where they were, what they were doing. But this is kind of interesting because you get some of Ulf's backstory. Reminded me a bit of Varys in a way of being abused as a child, and so I think it does a way to sort of humanize him. And also shows his character, like really sets him apart from the other two, where the other two seem like they're more like, I guess, more trained or more sort of loyal or more like know how to behave in someone's service, where he's kind of just like a selfish drunk in a way. He's like, well, I want a castle. Oh, what do I need with the horse? Like always thinking about what he needs. And so I think that that's very interesting to differentiate. And I hope that we do see these characters more. Like, I want to see more of them. Because I think they're very interesting that we hadn't seen that much of them after they got their dragons. So, yeah. So I do like that kind of touching in on them. And then, of course, so I can't remember her name. The witch.
Alice Rivers.
Alice Rivers. Yeah, that's right. He just shows up and like, yeah, you're right. You should listen to him. You're missing the battle. And I'm like, what? Who are you? It's like, I'm a witch. I guess she just flat out says, I'm a witch. So it's like, well, okay then. We should go back then. So yes, that was interesting. I wonder what repercussions this will have. I wonder if Rhaenyra's going to be like, oh, you should have stayed there when Aemon showed up or whatever, or if they're going to have a impact coming back and make a difference. So, anyway, Alyssa, your thoughts on this?
Yeah, I think that Alice Rivers has the ability to see through the fourth wall. Like she can see the book, so she was like, "Hey, you guys are supposed to be at the battle. Like, why aren't you at the battle?" Because she could see what that they're. She read the book, but I liked this choice as well to have these characters just kind of sitting and talking, because we do really need to sit with them and kind of get a little bit of their backstory, get their we get a lot of Ulf's thought process where he is right now, wanting like a knighthood not being enough for him, and those sorts of things. Like it's good character insight. Whereas if we had just seen them riding around on dragons fighting, like we don't get any of that. Like I think that they needed to take some time with these characters, because as you said, they haven't really shown them that much since they got the dragons. Like they built these characters up a lot before they got the dragons, and if you hadn't read the book, and even I did read the book, I was like, wait, who are these guys? like there's it took a while to like, why are they relevant? And then you eventually do see them get the dragons, and you see why why we've been following them through season 2. But since they've gotten the dragons, we haven't had this opportunity to kind of really sit down with these characters and see the difference between the three of them as well. So I did like this scene. This is a typical first episode sort of thing. Like we're checking in with characters, we're setting up, putting chess pieces in places and all that. Alice Rivers appearing seems like kind of out of nowhere, but she's a witch, so what are you gonna do? So yeah, I like this. I like this scene as far as like getting to sit with some characters a little bit.
Yeah, you're right. It did feel the most kind of like season 1-ish of like, let's sit with these characters. But Mark, I am glad that you mentioned that you don't recall them mentioning anything about an ambush, because that is the one thing that I was like in my mind to like the first half of their scenes is like, okay, so why are these guys like hanging out here? What? Because these are the dragon guys, right? And we have the one dragon like poking its head over. Honestly, again, it's budgetary reasons. We don't have six dragon budget. We got 3 dragon budget, maybe 4, if we push it. So, and I did like the backstories. Again, it's very connective, and I think it really much again shows where people come from in this world and what they got to do, because people say things, and then now I've done all this and I want a little bit of payback. It is a great kind of character bit. And yeah, I enjoyed it. It was funny seeing Alice Rivers. So I was like, oh yeah, Daemon's haunter. Just pop out. The fact that she just says, because I'm a witch, and Ulf's like, okay. I'm like, great. We can get past all the extra stuff. We got time, people. We got stuff we got to cover this episode. I think worked all fine. So no, I mean, I enjoyed the episode. It just did have me spinning a little bit because I was trying to remember, like, okay, wait a minute, why are you all here? So that was that again, my only little critique of this, but I did like everything that was done here.
Yeah, that was a deal for me as well. Yeah, so then we meet Ormond Hightower and Daemon Targaryen. Or Daemon was kind of in the background. I didn't really know if that was him or not. What we see is dragon. So this is setting up. I want to ask you about this, Darrin, because I want to know if you get what's going on, because I wonder if like they were clear enough, because they did mention that Alicent had another son who had lived in Hightower, Old Town where Hightower is, and that they were coming up with some soldiers and were an army, and they were trying to get to King's Landing. But I just wonder if that was like super clear, and was it also clear that, hey, this is an introduction of a new character that's going to be important this season? Yeah.
No, not at all. I was just going and watch it again at this point. I'm like, okay, I really feel like I'm trying to do catch up here. You know, I remember we did have a bunch of people that were on the Riverlands and they were doing battles and moving around. So we get a couple of those kind of establishment scenes. But no, in fact, I think when I heard Hightower, I was expecting to see Rhys Evans pop back up, but we didn't get him in this episode. So I'm a little curious about his fate, but we'll get to that. But no, I mean, at this point, I'm just kind of going with it, trying to remember like where everybody is. So the fact that this was a new character is great that I did not remember him from before. but no, that didn't really this kind of whole little middle section that we get, and I know we'll get to everyone's favorite guy, Cole. And even like Aemon's little bit, this felt like, again, we're tidying up from other episodes that I feel like I didn't get that transition moment. I'm kind of catching up. So that was sort of how I felt here.
I mean, these guys have only been like mentioned. They were shown briefly, like from a distance in the wide shot and like the montage that ended season 2. But yeah, so I do wonder if they're so they're supposed to be in the Reach, so they're like still really far away, but they're supposed to be like working their way up, and Alicent has a younger son that has a dragon with them. So, yeah. Anyway, Alyssa.
Yeah, he was mentioned for the first time last season, which, I mean, and then those of us who read the books were like, why was he not mentioned in the first season? Like, he just, her youngest son, Darrin, who appears to have her hair color. He doesn't have any lines in this episode. Like, you would have to even know about him to even know that that's him. You know, and I've seen YouTube videos where like they know who the actor was who was cast to play Darrin, and like, oh, there he is. So, but it's a character that will be formally introduced a little bit later, I think. I think right now our focus is on Ormound Hightower, who is. They do not make this clear at all in this episode, but he is Otto's nephew. So Otto is the second son of the Hightower, so his older brother is like the heir to the Hightower, House Hightower or whatever, and this is his older brother's son, so he would be like the heir to House Hightower or whatever. And I don't remember if Otto's brother was. I think Otto's brother was still alive. I think he appeared in season 1 occasionally, like making snide remarks. So this would be Otto's nephew. As opposed to the guy who, and I can't remember his name, but the guy who was with Criston Cole is Otto's son and Alicent's brother. So all these different Hightowers. But where this is our first time actually seeing him on screen, except for I didn't even remember that they did him in the montage. And he is set up to play an important role. I think he's going to play a pretty big role in this season, and so it was kind of introducing to him. And I was even a little bit confused at what was happening at first, but I think was Alicent sending this letter that was fake from Aemon, like telling him to stay put because they were on their way. She doesn't want them to come to King's Landing. That's what's happening. Yeah, so this should be a pretty interesting character. I do really hope we get to see more of Darrin, and he actually gets personality and he gets some things to do. We did get to see the dragon that he rides, just kind of there in the background. So I hope we get into that a little bit more as the season goes on as well.
Yeah, there was Alicent's brother. Again, can't remember his name either. But in the previous season, he did mention to her that Darrin was like the one son that was actually like really good and nice.
Yeah. Because he wasn't raised in that environment.
Yeah, I do remember his name being brought up in last season and such. So yeah,
cool. All right, so yeah, not much else to talk about them yet. That was just a very brief introduction. I think as Alyssa said, we'll get a more formal introduction to these characters a bit later. Um, so if you guys want to talk about Criston Cole, we can say something quick about it. I don't really have much. It's just him. It's a continuation of him being mopey and like, oh, we're all fucked. I mean, it's legitimate PTSD from like seeing how destructive the dragons are, but to just touch on it like occasionally and seeing him, oh, I don't know, you can have him hanged if it bothers you. I don't care. Like, I don't really have much to say about that.
The only thing I have to say is that it's been a couple years since I've seen the show, so I was like, oh yeah, that's right, Criston Cole sucks. I remember now, he sucks. Now I remember, and I have this memory of not really liking Alicent's brother all that much, but he at least has morals. Like I had some respect for him. Like he at least is like, hey, you got to tell your men to not rape the village women. That would be cool. Like he at least has some semblance of morality somewhere. So, yeah. So, that's all I have to say about that. Criston Cole still sucks.
Yeah. Alyssa's hitting it on the nail on the head right there. And yeah, you expected him honestly to try to be like, well, you've always got to expect a little raping after a battle. I mean, that's just, they got to get some steam off. Come on. What else is the point of battle if you can't do a little raping? I mean, I half expected Cole to actually go into a speech on that. I guess it's good that he didn't, but yeah, Cole sucks. So, let's move on.
I mean, I didn't get the impression that he was supportive of it. I just felt like he was just like didn't give a shit about anything. He was like, oh yeah, well if you want to do something about it, go ahead.
Yeah, whatever. I mean, I guess I don't mean to say it in a supportive way, but more of like his mopey matter of fact is like, hey, after a battle, some guy's got to rape.
Yeah. All right, so what are we up to? Oh, Daemon. So this is interesting. We get like the tail end of a battle in the Riverlands. This is kind of set up again with Daemon moping around all freaking season. Harrenhal, but the season finally ended with them like getting this huge Riverlands army, getting the support of the Riverlands. You see the Tully kid again show up, and so this is, I think I've heard complaints about this because in the book there's like all this like strategic information about the battle with the Lannisters. They're trying to cross the river and these other people come, they beat them back and they don't beat them back and then they meet them over there. And I have a feeling that all these battles are just combined into that one scene and that you don't really see the battle. And I mean, maybe they said, oh, let's go hunt some lions, so maybe they're going to do one of the other battles like later. But it's like, I don't care. This is what I expected the show to do. And I think if anyone had the expectation that we would see every single battle that doesn't involve any main characters. And by the way, they put Daemon in there in the show. In the book, he's not there. There's like no main characters there. I'm like, I don't expect to see any of those battles. I think they would just touch on it. And I don't think we get the battle with Gullet at the end of the episode. We don't need to waste time and money doing another huge, battle in the Riverlands. I think it's good enough to say, here's the end of it. It shows that they won the battle. And then we get the introduction of the Winter Wolves, who again were shown in the montage. They were mentioned in the previous season too, that older Northerners who are going to die. Like, well, I'd rather die in battle. So they purposely go just so they can die in battle. And that was a cool introduction. What's his face? Lannister's Tyland's brother. What's his name?
Jason.
Jason Lannister, yeah, I see his head and just chucks him the head, which is really cool. So that was a good introduction to them, and yeah, that's all I think we need. Like, it's funny because I got two different like competing complaints. Like, one complaint was like, "Oh, the battle with Gullet was too long. I'm not really for the battles. I wish they would focus more on the character stories and the dialogue than the scenes." And on the other hand, they're like, "Oh, they should have showed the whole battle. I want to see more battles." And like, I think what they did was fun. But anyway, Alyssa.
Yeah, I mean, I'm listening to the audiobook right now, and there's like, it's very dry. It's like there's this battle, and then this happened, and Sir, what's this nuts killed Sir, blah blah blah, and like all these rattle off all these names of all these people I don't care about, and it's just like, and there's a lot of these battles that like don't happen with any of the main characters, like you said. So if they do happen, and I could guess which battles they probably will feature because there is some importance to them, but a lot of these like battle, like, it's funny to me what people get attached to from the source material. Like they just really don't matter. And so just to show, here's Daemon, he's fighting in the Riverlands against the Lannisters. Here are the Winter Wolves. This is all you need. And I thought it was a great introduction to the Winter Wolves. And this is not the battle that they appear in the first appear in the book. Who cares? Like, I love them throwing Jason Lannister's head, and I love the fact that potentially both Lannisters are dead. I guess we don't know that Tywin is really dead. He could falls in the water. He could still be alive, but I'm kind of hoping they're both dead because fuck the Lannisters. But yeah, this is the guy who in season one was like hitting on Rhaenyra and trying to get her hand in marriage. Um, they're twins, but he came out of the womb first, so he's like the eldest son, and he gets all the heritage and all that stuff. And he's gone. There's his head. The Winter. I love the start, like a Stark throwing a Lannister's head. Yeah, I'll always be in favor of that. Yeah, I thought that this scene served its purpose. It didn't go on for too long. And I do like seeing. I liked Oscar Tully last season. I like this kid. He's pretty badass. So how the way he stands up to Daemon, get to see him again. So yeah, I thought this was just a short little scene that did a job. Did what it needed to do.
Yeah. Yeah, battles are expensive, folks, and they take time. So if you haven't learned by the third season of House of the Dragon, it's just like the third or fourth time that you catch the tail end of a battle. They might even show you like the beginning of the argument. And what do they cut to? The tail end of the battle, because battles are expensive and time consuming, and they've got other story to do. And yes, did I remember why Aemon was here, Daemon was here taking things down? No, I don't. But he's doing a battle, and I figure that's just what he's doing. We do have a great introduction to these characters. I recognized the head. I could not remember who it was. But with the guy throwing a head saying, "We're here to die for the queen," then we automatically know what side that they're on, and that told the story very well with it. I did remember the Tully kid, and I did totally appreciate him. Like, we bury our dead, and we got to take time to do that. You can't just toasty roast them with your dragon and move on, okay? We're not the Northerners. So I did like that, and that is the one thing about his character that I always remember is even though he's young, he still stands for his people, and Daemon respects that, or pays fealty enough to that idea to allow that to happen. And again, we still got that character dynamic there, and I think it was a quick summation of while Daemon would rather move on, he knows that with this he'll have to do it, though maybe he can let Tully and his group bury his dead while he takes the Winter Wolves and heads off to trash more Lannisters, which I agree with Alyssa, always a good choice, So, yeah, I thought this worked. I thought this worked really well.
Oh, cool. Yeah. Me too. Yeah. Thought it was great. Don't understand. lines. But anyway, so let's talk about Rhaenyra now. It's interesting at the start of the episode, she was like just wrapping up, which again I think was a nice way to get us caught up again at what happened at the end of season 2 about Alicent says that she's gonna surrender the castle and let him in, and nobody is supportive of her, like especially Jace. Like Jace tries to, "Your queen, I strongly suggest," that she just interrupts him and talks over him. And it's like, no, this is what we're doing, and no one, and even Mysaria is a bit questionable. She's like, oh, what did they ask in return? And it's like, oh, just that her and God, why am I blanking on her name? I just said it earlier. The daughter's name, Alicent's daughter.
Oh, Helena.
Helena, yeah, just her, Helena, and her kid, just to have them be safe, and Mysaria's like, well, that doesn't seem like much, so they're very questioning. But I think Rhaenyra is right. I think Rhaenyra knows Alicent and knows her well, and knows that she's being honest. And as we see that her trying to manipulate Aemon to get him to leave, I think it's very clear that she's right. It's just. But the other people don't know her, Alicent, the way that Rhaenyra does, so you kind of can understand them being a bit skeptical. But I think this is kind of setting up, like, this is continuing the dynamic from last season where all the men were constantly questioning her, and she's kind of gotten sick of it, and it's like, oh, just do what I want, do what I say, whatever. But it's an interesting dynamic between her and Jace, because I think the way she just talked over Jace and dismissed him like he wasn't even there is maybe not the best way to handle it, and I think that's kind of what led him to do what he did later when locking her in the room, because she's again being very dismissive, because he's trying to be like, no, I strongly suggest, you cannot go, and she's not even hearing it. Now, was Jace right to lock her in the room? No, probably not. Probably not the best decision to do, and is not the best. So I don't think either of them sort of handled it very well. And both of them are kind of because she was doesn't want Jace to go anywhere because she's being overly protective of him, as we saw last season after Luke died. But he is also being overly protective of her because she's a queen, whatever. I did like her response when he was like, "What if you die?" She's like, "Well, then you get to be king," and then she slams the door. But so yeah, that shows how they're not really communicating, and so that's very interesting. And then, but after he locks her in, and also that he was able to manipulate the Queen's Guard into doing it. Also, I do wonder what she's going to do with that Queen's Guard in the next episode. But it also shows the inherent sexism that's baked into the system. And it's interesting seeing her rip up her dress and saying I may have the body of a feeble woman, but I'm really a king. I think this is going to be leading to something that happens later, character-wise. It's building her character to something that I felt like they need to move her character in that direction if they're going to go the same way the book did. So far I'm with it. So far I think it's, pretty good stuff. But as far as Jace, well, I'll get to this later when we get to the battle scene. But yeah, Darren, we'll start with you.
I really don't like what they're doing with Rhaenyra with this. I mean, I understand that she's dealing with a certain level of the sexism and misogyny and people not really respecting her position. But even with that moment of her running in, oh, don't worry, I already took care of everything. We got some set up with Alicent, and it's going to go. When she's presenting what is happening, I didn't feel that coming from a confident, commanding place. It really felt like it more came over, and I'm sorry, and I think that's sort of why they believed it, as a girlfriend going, I got things settled with my mate and it's all going to be fine. It didn't feel like it came from a position of strength for me. And I didn't like how that presented, because I think it opened up everybody's dismissive response from her. I am going to say, if she doesn't throat stab that Queen's Guard as soon as she walks out the door and even before whether she finds out her son is dead because he locked her in that door, I'm going to have a serious problem, because there's no excuse for that. I feel like they keep putting her in a weak position that they don't need to. I thought that a lot of last season was her reestablishing her strength and finding it and getting that in there. And they had a couple of good moments, but I mean, I think this is the thing that I feel that they stretch out. And yeah, maybe they're using this to motivate to get to a certain point. Again, I don't know where she is in the book. But even that last bit when she is whimpering, even though I'm in the weak body of a woman, I'm really a strong man. That came across as whiny to me. And it's just, I just don't like the weakness that I feel that they're putting this character in, even if the intention is because we're going to rubber band her to some ultra powerful, domineering, don't listen to anyone position. I just feel like they keep teasing this back and forth. It's just the one thing that kind of frustrates me. So the fact that I really felt that she was completely sidelined through this episode so that we could, I'm sorry, watch a bunch of guys do things, was personally a little frustrating. I like this character. I think she's a lot stronger. I think they've established that. And I feel like they keep weakening her in order to establish some arc. And I don't like it. But yeah, throat stab. That's all we need. Throat stab.
I personally think a throat stab would be a little extreme, but I think that guy should be punished, at least stripped of his Queen's Guard status and taken away. I feel like a throat stab would be a little out of character for her, but yeah, there should be consequences for what he did to her for sure, and because she's going to need to finally show her power. And I think you're right. It's kind of gone back and forth a little bit, but I think it's time for her to finally take that position of that power. And I saw the scene the same way as you, Darren. I agree with you that it didn't feel like a command. I know it's a commanding officer. That's Star Trek, but like someone who's in command, a queen, like saying, "This is what we're doing. This is how we're doing it," and it was more like it was kind of like a pleading. Oh no, I really trust Alicent. Yeah, it was kind of like it wasn't. She did kind of open herself up to being dismissed, and even I mean, it's not just men. Myserio's not even really like on board with this. So I think it's just the way that she presents herself, and I don't have as big of a problem with it. I do think it is building to something. I still think that Mark and I will talk about it in the spoiler section. I don't think she's going to have the same exact character that she does in the book, because she already doesn't, and Alicent doesn't either. So I do think what she develops into will not be exactly how she is in the source material, but they clearly have setting her up for. This is. I think she's drawing the line here. I think that her ripping up the dress. I like that scene a lot. I mean, even though, it's it sucks that that's like the way that their society is. That in order to get respect, you have to be more like a man. Like fuck that. But that's it. It is how it is. To me, it's kind of sad that she feels like she has to rip off a dress to have power. I think you can be a powerful woman, and she's not going in that direction. She's going in the like, well, I'm going to be more like a man, and which totally makes sense story wise, and in the world that they are in, that's what she would feel she would have to do. But so I think we're setting up for a shift in her character that I think is not going to go back and forth anymore. I think we're going to see her um, take more of a power position, especially once she gets the news of her son, which we can get into that a little bit more later. But I do, yeah, now I do like where they're going with this character, and I do expect that we are going to see that shift happen where she's going to be more in a power position and maybe even a little bit. She may even go a little bit too far on the other side. We'll kind of see see what happens. I'm really curious what they do with her character moving forward.
Yeah, I do think it's I think it's an effective and is very good commentary on the sexist and patriarchal nature of this society, and this is something the show has done very well consistently. So I think it's that a lot of her behavior is a reaction to it, and so I find that very interesting. Now, as far as the Queen's Guard guy, I did get the impression where Jace said, like, you pledged your life, like your life for hers. To me, I got that implying like she's going to execute you for doing this, but you need to sacrifice your life to save her. That was the impression I got.
Oh, I didn't get that at all, but you might be right.
Well, it's definitely. I think he's definitely right, whether he meant that or
not. Yeah.
All right, so we'll move over to the Battle of the Gullet, and I want to split this one in two. We'll start with the sea battle, so the stuff with the sea snake, Alan. What was the Triarchy pirate's name again?
I forget. I think her last name is Lohar. It's like
Lohar. Yeah.
It's like Sharaki Lohar or something
Lohar.
like that.
Yeah. So we'll talk about all the stuff with them first, and then we'll talk about the stuff with Jace and the dragons and all that. So as far as so I actually like this, like the character interactions between Alan and Corliss. Like they were like this, I think was set up really perfectly at the end of last season. It took way too fucking long, but it was like I like this dynamic between them, and so that Corliss tries to like again reconcile, because at the end of season 2, remember Darrin, he was kind of like he tried to reach Corliss tried to reach out to Alan. Alan was pretty much flat out like told him off and like, no, you abandoned me, fuck you, you're never going to be my father, essentially. And so it's interesting that he tried to reach out again, but Alan of course remains sort of resistant to that. But during the course of the battle, he kind of, I think, sees his worth, as sees, and it's like as Alyssa mentioned earlier, it's like we actually get to see Corliss being a great, seafarer rather than just hearing about it. And I think and also like seeing him, like Alan seeing him almost die, like I think made him realize. So I do think that the two of them are going to be a lot closer after this, and I think that was very well earned. I loved the way that was handled. And as far as, of course, the battle is epic, and the biggest sort of seafaring battle we've seen on Game of Thrones yet. So that was amazing. Some people thought it was kind of distracting that they had like the cat and mouse, like Corliss taking his ship to the thing, but I actually like that. I like that it added a bit more sort of dynamic to it. And another thing I noticed that they did differently is that they would cut back. They would cut away from the battle, like not just to the dragon stuff, but also to like they'd have the scene with Rhaenyra ripping up her dress. Like they cut to that, or they cut to a different scene. Usually in Game of Thrones, when they did the battle thing, like they would just not cut to anything and just stay there. But I actually, I hadn't heard anyone complain about that yet, but I actually liked it because it does give the impression that time is passing and it's not all happening at once. So I actually didn't mind it and actually kind of liked how they did it that way. And then with Lohar, yeah, as Alyssa already mentioned, the whole Khan. I didn't think of Khan, but that's a good comparison about how she is blinded. And I do like, I think it was kind of obvious that what she was going to do as far as Tywin Lannister goes, but I liked it. I thought it was great. But then that Tywin would be oblivious to it. But of course she's not going to listen to him. Of course she's going to be like, what, you think we sailed all the way over here to help your king win his war? Like, she's obvious that she's got her own priorities, and her own priorities getting revenge on the sea snake. And it's also interesting how she was like, how much does that armor weigh? And just shoves them over. I do think, I don't know, this is just a guess, I don't know for sure, but I would guess that he's still alive. I think we're going to see more, but I could be wrong. Because they made a point of showing like the other Lannisters that they're off, like getting like dying, so I feel like if they were going to kill him off, they would have showed it. But I could be wrong. Maybe they're going to kill him off anyway. But yeah, so that whole chase scene was amazing. And then like this is the other, just, it's not a real complaint. It's just a facetious complaint. But like, we spent the entire last season of Corlys getting his ship ready, and now it's destroyed. like we wait all the time, him standing around his ship while they're working on it, and now the first thing that happens as soon as he takes it out, boom, split in half. But anyway.
So now we need another season.
Yeah,
Building a new ship. Season 3. Corlys' new ship. Yeah,
he's gonna be standing in the dock all season long and building a new ship. But yeah. So anyway, Alyssa, your thoughts on this?
Yeah, I absolutely loved this battle, and to me, it's the character stuff that they put into it. It's like if all it was just this is epic sea battle, I would get bored with it. To me, I did really like, as I mentioned before, what did I say her name was? Lohar? Like her.
Yeah.
Lohar.
Lohar. The hill people. Anyway, Lohar. It's the I liked this character when she was introduced at the end of last season, and I'm like, of course, yeah, she's got her own agenda. She doesn't give a fuck. She's like, you think I give a fuck about your king? Like, this is all for her own agenda, and it's kind of Tywin Lannister's kind of dumb for not seeing that. But I think he's been consistent. I think he's been portrayed as not necessarily being that bright. So I liked all that, and I too did like the scene. I actually did like the scene a lot where they go through between the rocks. It was pretty dramatic, and like I said, you finally get to see Corlys actually do something on a ship, and it shows that he's a good sailor. Instead of just him talking about it or people talking about what a great seafarer he is and all that, like actually getting to see it. And it looks like Alan gained some respect for him, so that he actually like gets his own hands dirty. He's like not just having his men do it. He's like, no, I can do it. So just the way that Alan looks at him afterwards, it seems like he got a little bit more respect for him. And the Alan and Corlys stuff, I thought was great. I thought that it was set up for well in season 2. As you said, it took too long, but but I think that what we see here is now pretty well earned. And so when he goes, Father, I think that was really well built up too, even though verbally he's always saying, no, you're my father, you're not my father, you weren't there for us, blah, blah, blah. You start to see in this episode particularly just these actors are also good. Like just the kind of the body language and just the facial expressions, you can kind of just the looks that he gives and reactions that he gives to things like the one that I'm talking about. just all those little details like really show that you could see that internally he is really starting to think differently of his father, so that when he does scream like "father" and just goes after Lohar and kills her, like to me that was earned. And I like that they gave the kill to him rather than Corlys. I think it would have been, I don't know, it would have been a bit boring if they were just fighting Corlys and her were just fighting, and then Corlys just kills her. I don't know. To me, this adds a little more drama to it, and it was just really well done. So yeah, all the great the battle, and the ships coming together, and like all the people coming on and fighting each other, like that was all exciting and everything. But if it was only that, I would be bored with it. So I like the character stuff that they put into it, and I hope that Tywin Lannister is dead. I legitimately don't know, because in the book he's not here. he's not. It's another example of, like, you can't just have these Tyroshis, these Three Cities people, just without having a known character present. I think that's what Tywin serves a purpose for the story. Like, this is a character we know. He's a Lannister. We know him, so we're going to put him here. So I think it makes it better that he's there. But because of that, I don't know his fate, because that's not in the book. But I hope he's dead. I don't want to see him again. I want both Lannisters to be dead in the same episode. But we'll see.
No, I completely agree. I think the character stuff between Alan and the Sea Snake, Alan. Sorry, every time I hear that name, Alan is anyway. But I do think this is some of the best stuff, and I think it really does work, because we were left at an impasse last season, and we kind of start with this while he's sitting down to have the drink, and oh no, I won't do it. Well, I've already opened the bottle, I've already broken the wax, and I choose not to drink alone. Again, he's pushing on, and he's pushing, and he's prodding, and he's attempting to apologize, and still not accepting that. And as the fight goes on, they work together as shipmates, and then as things progress even more, Alan starts stepping into the role, especially once we do get through the gullet there, that little narrow space, and he suddenly Sea Snake sees Driftmark on fire in the background, which is what Lohar's whole plan was. The minute that he sees that, that's going to distract him, and okay, maybe his was a bit much and a bit heavy and lasted a little bit long. But seeing his captain, his father, incapacitated, Alan steps into the role as captain. And so, then we get the big battle out, so that when the Sea Snake falls, he acknowledges, "Father, you're my captain," and thus steps into the role by defeating his enemy. I mean, it is a perfect kind of character base, and I think to me, it was one of the strongest parts of the episode, just seeing how this has all developed. Now, I'm not a naval tactical guy, so I don't know what the point of turning broadside with crossbows is going to do at a ship coming back at you. Just fire off the back. Why do ramming is a thing, and the front of Lohar's ship was definitely like designed to smash into other ships, which I did kind of like. So from a tactical choice, I was a little questioning of what they were doing there. But I did really like this. I did like the character dynamics. As I had mentioned at the top, the only kind of criticism that I have here is they had built up that little chase through the strait, and they focused so much on the Sea Snake getting through. And then once he did, then they cut away. And again, I don't mind them cutting to show other scenes are going on, but this seemed to be like a high tense chase thing, and them cutting away and then showing a scene or two and then coming back to show how Lohar was going to navigate that. To me, pacing wise, that kind of interrupted some of the tension that I think they were really building with the careful navigation of that scene. Minor quibble. But I think overall, I did like the action. I did like the fact that this kind of end story was sort of settled up between Lohar and that attack, and Alan connecting in with his father, so that we can get some new energy moving forward with this part of the story. So I like what they did and how they ended up and where they're bringing this going forward, especially since, I guess Driftmark is on fire right now, and, that's going to be a mess to clean out.
Yeah, I do hope we see the aftermath of that, or at the very least talk about it. So, all right, so let's get to the air part of the battle, the dragon part of the battle, and so we finally get to the change from the book that I had an issue with. And to be clear, it's not a huge issue, like it's not a deal breaker, and I can kind of see how it works. I'm not going to make a whole video about how this ruined the show 45 minutes, but I have something against movies and books where the heroes fail because of their own fault, because they do something stupid, and so the fact that Sheep Stealer is the one who shows up and fucks things up, and basically, if you can look at it, gets Jace killed because Jace is too focused on trying to get Sheep Stealer away from Moon Dancer that he doesn't realize that he flies close to one of the ships that just shoot the thing. And so it's kind of everything Sheep Stealer's fault. So I just don't. I guess it depends on how they handle this in future episodes, because it seemed like Rhaena fucked up so badly that how is she going to be received, and how is this going to affect her relationship, and what are they going to do with Sheep Stealer? I don't know. So I guess it might be dependent on how they handle it in the future. But in general, this is a change that I kind of wish they didn't do. But on the other hand, playing my own devil's advocate, I do like the theme that they're going for here that I noticed in this, and that's the theme of these younger, kids or younger people being inexperienced and kind of too eager to prove themselves and not thinking things through and fucking up, because they all kind of did that. Like Jace did that by locking up his mother and going out and was like, "Oh, I can do it, I can handle it," and he convinces Rhaena. No, what's her name? Baylor. Bela, yeah. He convinces Bela to go with him, which was a nice little scene. I don't know if it's just me, but I thought they should have kissed. I mean, especially because I know what's going to happen to Jace. But I like that they showed there is love between them, and how he's like, "Come with me," and so she convinces her to go, and so she's kind of being foolhardy for going, because she's not battle ready, and neither is Jace. So to have the two of them go off in the middle of the ship battle it was kind of foolhardy, but especially like Rhaena was the one who was most irresponsible, because if I understand this correctly, and this is what I got out of it, she flew Sheep Stealer back to Dragonstone, was going to, "Oh, we're home, we're going to hang out," but she saw the battle. I was like, "Let's go there." Which that was like a major mistake, because clearly she just got this dragon. She barely had control out of it. For her thinking, she had no experience whatsoever taking a dragon into combat. She just got a dragon so to her to go, "Oh, let's fight," was really foolhardy. And I'm not saying that's out of character for her, because quite frankly, we don't know much about her character. But so I'm not saying that's out of character, but. So I'm not saying it's bad from the story perspective, but in universe, I see that's the theme. The theme is these young kids who are inexperienced, trying to prove themselves too much, and in the end, fucking up, and it ends with Jace's death, which, to be clear, I'm saying is a good thing. I like that. That's an interesting dynamic, an interesting story. So that's the aspect of it that I see what they're going for. I see what it works, but I'm just in general not a fan of, these people fucked up because of their own fault kind of thing. I don't know. I guess it depends on how it's handled. So yeah, maybe they'll handle it in the way, but I just wonder where they're going to take Rhaena's character from here. I mean, are they going to, I'm just wondering how she's going to be received by Bela and Rhaenyra, if they're going to be understanding, like, "Oh yeah, it's not your fault, you didn't know how to control this dragon," or rightfully they should be like, "What the fuck did you think you were doing, taking this dragon you didn't know how to control into battle?" But it also created an interesting dynamic with they were going to attack Sheep Stealer, but then saw Rhaena was on the back of it, and they're like, "Oh shit, we can't do that." So that was So I did like that as well. But Jace's actual death, I think, was perfect. It was, as Alyssa mentioned, pretty much exact. Like once he was in the water, pretty much exactly like it was in the book. The dragon goes down, he tries to swim out, but gets shot with arrows. So and it was so that was very powerful. So I liked the way that was handled. But I overall liked it, and especially the visual effects were amazing. So I'm not. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying it was terrible or anything. It's just one thing that irked me just a little bit. Alyssa, I'm sure you're going to tell me why I'm wrong, but go ahead.
No, you just told yourself why you're wrong. I kind of agree. I sort of agree with the second half of what you said about how they're showing they're young and inexperienced kids who are so desperate to try to prove themselves. And I think we've been seeing this since the end of season 1. We've been seeing the kids on both sides are just so desperate to like prove themselves to their mother on both sides of it. And then I think with Rhaena's case to her, what is wait, her aunt? I think Rhaenyra is her aunt, but also her mother, like her stepmother, because she's
yes.
Anyway, trying to prove herself to her queen, let's just say. And so for that reason, I do really buy this. And this is the thing. I think this is the aspect of it that maybe a lot of people do have more of a problem with. That they added this into the show, and this is not at all what happens in the show. That Jace just dies because he gets shot and he dies. Like there's no, they don't. To me, this adds an extra added layer of something that makes it more interesting to me. So I did like that they added this in. As far as what becomes of Rhaena after this, I do think that Baela is going to be really pissed off at her sister. Like, what the fuck are you doing? Rhaenyra may even have some harsh words for her as well. But then she's going to be like, okay, get on your dragon and we need your fucking dragon. Because I can't remember if they did this in season 2 but in the book, I'm listening to the audiobook, and there's like so many times where they're sitting there going, how many dragons do we have now? We have 1, 2, we have Sheep Stealer, they're listing up all the dragons and counting them. We have 6, and the other side has 4. Like, there's so many scenes in the book where it's just like they're counting dragons. I'm like, okay. And I can't.
They did this a lot in the show too.
They did. Okay, I couldn't remember if in season 2 they were like, we have 5 dragons. No, we have 4 dragons.
They did.
So for that reason, I think Rhaenyra will probably have some harsh words for her and like, okay, get on your dragon and try again because we need fucking dragons. So like, I think that is probably where it's gonna end up, especially since I do think Rhaenyra is going in more of a war general type of direction. She's going to be a little bit harder. So I think that she's going to be a little more harder on her enemies. She's going to want that dragon. But I expect Baela to be like, what the fuck, sis? Like, what the fuck? You got my betrothed killed. So I do think that there will be some tension there. But I think, again, like I said in the book, Rhaena does nothing. So to have this character and like give her a story arc, I love it. I love that she has a story arc. She has a character arc. She has something. So for all the people who complain about this and complain about Nettles being cut out and all of these things, like, I disagree. I love it. I think that you're giving her something. And we'll see how they handle it. I mean, there's certainly a way where they can handle this poorly. But I think that if they do it well, I do like the direction they're heading in with this. Now, as far as Jace's death, they do, again, I love they're adding extra layers. So he doesn't lock Rhaenyra up in a room in the book. So I think that adds an extra layer, and it makes me wonder, like, how is Rhaenyra going to react? I do see a character change coming. I don't know exactly how it's going to manifest, But I do think I do expect her to be a little harsher, a little harder, a little like no more fucking around. Like you guys are doing what I say, or I mean, maybe Darren's right. Maybe she will just nick stab that guy. Like maybe she's going to be a little harsher, and I do expect that. But I'm really curious to see how she does react to this fully. And I just want to say like Jace dies basically for Rhaenyra's character development, and how refreshing it is to see the reverse, see a male character die in order to promote a female character's character and give her more of a story instead of the other way around, which we've seen a billion gazillion times. So I do appreciate that Jace's death is basically going to do something, especially the way that he went out, by putting her, locking her in the room, that's going to have a big effect on her. And I'm really, really interested to see what her character is like moving forward. So, yeah, the death itself was, I don't know, it is exactly how it happens in the book, but it just felt a little like, yeah, he's dead now. So to me, I'm more interested in like the aftermath, the after effects of what this is gonna cause moving forward.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think this kind of illustrates what this couldn't have been like at the end of last season, because season 1 ended with a dragon out of control killing the other rider, causing the death of another rider of in this case Jace's brother, and this one ends with an out of control dragon getting involved, causing the death of another of Rhaenyra's children. It might have seemed a little repetitive at that point. I mean, look, I agree. Sheep Stealer cannot be out for long because Sheep Stealer is a very large dragon. So you can't you got to put that, you're going to have to get that thing back into play too. Mark, I was totally with you. And this was to me, the little frustrating thing with Rhaena here is like, why are you choosing to go straight into battle with this brand new fresh dragon you're just getting used to? That does not seem like smart things. So yeah, of course it's out of control. I get why it's going after the ships, because hey, maybe those are munchy and they got good little eats on them. Not sure the motivation for going after the other dragon, who certainly wasn't attacking Sheepstealer at that point. Sheepstealer kind of went in to go after Baela's dragon there. So that kind of surprised me, but I don't know what the, interactive behavior of dragons are. But I do like the idea that you have that the repeating theme is kids getting themselves killed because they're rushing off into things when they're not ready for, and maybe perhaps the stories and tales of old and all the family dynamics, is pushes these kids to do things that they are not yet ready for. I kind of like that as a theme. And if they are going to do that, I hope that they really work with that, because otherwise it does just start to get annoying. I think the ballista shots, the Lohar first shot at Jace's dragon there, and then goes in and then drags an anchor off. I thought that was brilliant. And I was a little frustrated that Jace didn't have any way of he didn't seem to be trying to identify or cut the line or anything. And thus I liked the partnership. I like the cooperation when Baela came in and was able to go down and cut the line and so on. I'm like, okay, they've got a dynamic here. And in a way, that's what repeated at the end, but it just didn't work because Jace's dragon got pulled down into the water too much for Baela to be able to come in and swoop. On the other hand, I was also like, and perhaps this is just identifying Jace's inexperience, is like, all right, dude, this just happened to you. Are you going to jump in and cut that anchor loose of your dragon? I mean, are you going to do something? Is there, to me, that was a little frustrating. but viewed through the eyes of, again, inexperience, overconfident, not actually prepared for all of the give and takes of the chaotic nature of battle. I did, and I guess there's kind of a lesson. It's like, well, you had an opportunity to learn that lesson once, and you didn't do it in time, and that's what ended up catching you. The fact that he did identify Rhaena on Sheep Stealer and did pull back and so on, it's like, I liked all of that. Again, I liked a lot of the action, the dynamic that just went in. I guess I just get frustrated because these are younger, inexperienced, and I think they are trying to show that is they get themselves in trouble. I'm like, why are you flying so low in your dragon? Why are you doing, there was a lot of that while I was watching the show. Like, why are you doing, you're going to get yourselves killed. Haven't you learned? But I think that you're right. That might be the underlying message. Jace's death. Mwah. I mean, honestly, that first shot where he grabs it on and it's just funk. I was like, oh, he's out. And then he even moves like, hey, wait a minute. And then in the back and in the throat again. It's just, it was shocking and beautiful. And it's just like brutality and done. It's now over with, and you're going to sink down with your dragon because you didn't save it. And now they're down one more dragon. I mean, look, yeah, it's sad to see Jace go, but they lost a dragon. So yeah, I mean, overall, I really did like the fight. I like the kind of dynamic and stuff. I think the frustration I felt was in a way intentional frustration. But like you said, Mark, it all depends on how they carry this forward. What do they do? How do they react? What are the next steps that they do with this? I think is really going to be helpful in shaping how I feel about all of this. But mostly, I thought that the action was great, and I did love Jace. Just, yeah, dude, you're dead in the water, literally dead in the water.
So, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, one thing that I appreciate that House of the Dragon is doing is reminding us that these dragons are wild beasts. You can't always actually control them. Even when you are writing an older, more seasoned dragon, like in season 1 with Vhagar, when Aemon actually says, Vhagar, no! And he kills Luke, Luke anyway, because that's just his nature. That's what he does. I feel like in Game of Thrones, it's been a while, but I kind of got more of the impression that the dragons just Daenerys has complete control over these 3 dragons, 3 of them that just always did whatever she said. And so I like that they're showing more. No, these are actually really wild beasts. They're not I think in the book they said this is not the same as riding a horse. These are not horses. These are wild animals, and so there's a lot of unpredictability in that. So it also just kind of adds to this whole idea of this war, the dance of the dragons, that you're playing with these really dangerous. I think there's been comparisons to nuclear weapons, but it's like if nuclear weapons were wild animals, just completely unpredictable. So I do like that aspect of the show is showing us.
Yeah, excellent point.
Yeah, so I heard something like one of these videos that made a lot of sense to me, but that I really liked. That they talk about the psychic connection that writer has to the dragon, and that's how they sort of link up and connect. And that Rhaena, who herself was inexperienced, because I think this makes a lot of sense, because they make a point of showing when she first goes into battle and she destroys a couple of Triarchy ships and everything's going good, but then they make a point of showing her getting shot at a lot and her starting to freak out and how she realizing that her life is in danger. And so so the thing that they were saying is that her panicking and her freaking out is transferring to Sheep Stealer, and so he's starting to panic and freak out, and that's why he starts just destroying everything in sight, including the other ships. And as far as like the why Sheep Stealer went after Moondancer, I think it was clear that Sheep Stealer that Bela was trying to chase Sheep Stealer away from the Valyrian ships. So she was purposely like going like baiting Sheep Stealer and trying to get Sheep Stealer to chase her, and he did. And so he was like, "Oh, this other dragon's fucking with me, so I'm going to chase him now." And also, like Sheep Stealer, they also made a point to show how he's flying too close to the water. Because not only is Rhaena inexperienced with battle, but so is Sheep Stealer. And so Sheep Stealer was flying too close to the water, and it's the fact that Sheep Stealer was chasing Bela, and then Jace was chasing after Sheep Stealer. That's why Jace was so far closer to the water than he should have been. And that's what ultimately got him killed. So it was ultimately, and plus he was paying attention to Sheep Stealer, and it's ultimately like Rhaena's fault that Jace got killed. And also, like I like how you pointed out, Darrin, that Rhaena did Bela tried to swoop in with Moondancer to do what she did before and get the thing off of Viramax, but he was already too close to the water because he was too close to the water to begin with, and so that's kind of. So I love the dynamics and everything like that and the way it played out. I thought it was very meticulously done.
Mark, I have a question for you. Do you remember? Did they mention any other wild dragons, or is Sheep Stealer the only wild dragon that they
in the show?
In the show?
No.
Because in the book there are other wild dragons, but I can't remember at the show they're just doing Sheep Stealer only.
I think the show mentioned like, oh, there are wild dragons. Like they had a line like that, but no one ever made an attempt to try to write it. Like, I think they may have mentioned Grey Ghost in the show, but just in a line of dialogue. But I'm not sure about that. But I think they just had a line that was like, "Oh, there's also wild dragons here," but they didn't actually get the details.
Yeah. I don't think they really need to have any other wild dragons. I think they're putting in focus on this one wild dragon, and I think that's good.
Dragons are expensive. We don't have it in the budget. One wild dragon, you get one, but he's going to look awesome.
And I think maybe that's also why the dragon seeds, Ulf and Hugh Hammer and Adam were not in the battle, because then that would have been in the book Bela isn't there and Rhaena isn't there, but there's I think Nettles is there on Sheep Stealer as well.
Yes, Nettles is there.
There's 5 dragons at the Battle of Gullet in the book. They were like, let me figure this out here. I think our budget is about 3 dragons. So we're not going to have 5 dragons. So we're going to sideline those 3, and then we're going to add 1. We're going to put Bela in there. But we can afford 3 dragons, but not 5. So I think.
I think it would make it easier to film from a logistics perspective, and also having those other 3 dragons there would change the whole dynamic they had with Sheep Stealer coming in and fucking up.
Yeah.
But yeah, so yeah, that's the episode.
I forgot to ask when we were talking about Rhaenyra.
Yeah.
Afterwards, is she pulling splinters out of her hand from banging on the door?
I didn't notice that, but
no, I'm not sure.
Felt like while she was pulling something out of her hand, she was doing something like that, and that's all that came to me, because I was like, "Oh, come on, really? That's a lot."
Yeah, I didn't notice it. I mean, I'm not saying you're wrong, but I didn't notice it.
Yeah. All right. So Darren, what do you think of the episode overall then?
I mean, overall, I like the episode. I did like its pacing. I think the fact that we did do a kind of a battle up front, because I know that was something with last season that there was a bit of criticism about, and I hope that does imply that we're moving things forward a little bit. Again, the only negative to that was it's been 2 years since the last one, and I felt like I got kind of thrown into things and was trying to catch up for a good chunk of the episode. Especially, like I said, if they're introducing a new character that I barely even noticed. I was focused on the Hightower name and everything. And all I'm thinking is this part of the crew that's with Cole? Because we kind of see him afterwards with Alicent's other brother or whatever. So to me, it kind of got a little muddled. Plus, with the new Dragon Riders off on a ambush adventure that I didn't hear about, I think it just felt like through a lot of it, while I appreciate them doing something different, I felt that I was kind of catching up a lot in this episode, and it wasn't really until we got about halfway through, really into the big battle of the Gullet, that I felt I had something to really hold on to bring forward with. So, I did like the episode overall. It's just, man, that 2-year jump is hard to do and then throw us right into things.
Yeah, and I don't think that we should have to do this as fans, but I will say, if you watch one of those like summary videos on YouTube, some of them are like 10 minutes long. You just watch, this is all that happened. Like, I found that to be very helpful, and I agree that we shouldn't have to do that. Like, they should be able to.
I think that's the case with like any show. Like, I've heard people talking about other random shows about, it's been 2 years, I don't remember what the hell's going on. So it is helpful to watch one of those videos.
Sure. Yeah. But I also, to me, wanted to see, like, well, how is the show itself going to handle it? You know, part of that is kind of the thing. It's like the whole book adaptation such. Are you taking out this character? Are you giving their storyline to this? It's like, I don't care. Does it work? In the show that you're bringing in with me? So
the videos I'm talking about don't talk about the book at all. They're just like, this is what happened in season 1. This is what happened in season 2.
Oh yeah,
which was really helpful for me for the show, like remembering what happens in the show.
No, I mean, I could have totally done that, and that is completely on me. But I was like, well, I mean, if I was just a person that was like, oh, it's the new House of Dragons is tonight, cool, let's check that out. You know, how would it come across? So. Yeah.
Well, I think it's a problem with the fact that it's all these shows are 2 years apart now.
Yes.
I mean, when shows are 2 years off, I do have to go back and watch it, you know. And if I don't have time to watch it, then I watch these YouTube videos. But it's just like, it just sucks. That's just TV the way it is now. Everything is 2 years apart, and you're like, wait, what happened again? Who's that? What's going on? Like, this is for a lot of shows, and it's just really frustrating.
Darren, you remember back in the day, there was only 3 months in between seasons.
And we were like, oh my God, that we've got to wait on that cliffhanger.
Could you imagine if Mr. Worf fire, and we have to wait 2 years for that? It was 3 months. And that kills everyone. Like, we have to wait 3 months. No, you have to wait 2 years.
I don't know. I think the Strange New World season 2 and 3 kind of gave us that effect.
Yeah.
And that was bad.
But I didn't care as much about that clip.
Yeah, I didn't care as much.
Very true. Very true.
And also, Strange New Worlds has been coming out once a year, except for that, because of the writer's strike. So.
Yeah.
Very true. And we know at least the next 2 seasons of that are already in the can. So
I mean, yeah, to be honest, the thing that pissed me off the most about the finale of season 2 of House of the Dragon was the fact that we had to wait 2 years, that it didn't give us like an ending. It kind of just left us hanging. Like, here's a montage of all the cool shit that's going to happen, but you got to wait 2 years. And I'm like, God damn it.
Yeah. No, I mean, yeah, I still maintain this should have been episode 9. Like, I hear you that it would be a little bit of repetitive from season 1. I don't care. I think think that, yeah, like
I think all of the buildup would have worked a lot more if we got to go right into this back then. Yeah, for sure.
All right, so we are going to move over to our spoiler section. So we're going to say goodbye to Darrin. Darrin, thanks so much for joining. If you want to give a shout out, if you're up to anything, where people can find you, that sort of thing.
Yeah, I am here every week talking House of the Dragon with these two awesome people. You can also catch me right now. I'm doing some stuff with Rob over in Smirking Gun Reviews. We've been recovering the old Chris Carter show Harsh Realm from 1999. That's been a real blast going through and rewatching that show. We're also doing an occasional bit on a even older DB Sweeney vehicle called Strange Luck from 1995. Yeah, so we're even going to make that one a game show. Rob watches it, I don't, and then he asks me questions of what I think is going to happen during the episode. It's been a lot of fun, actually. So you can check those over at Smirking Gun Reviews. I don't have anything on my channel now, but maybe some stuff's coming forward. In which case, jump over there, hit that subscribe and hit that notification bell, as I know you've already done right here. Anyway, thanks both of you. I will catch you next week. Everyone, enjoy the spoiler section.
All right. Thanks, Darrin.
Get out of here. I've got to hit the right button.
Yes, and so if you haven't read the book and you don't want to be spoiled, you don't want to know what's going on, this is your cue to leave as well, because we're not going to hold back on the spoilers. 3, 2, 1, go. All right. So, should we talk about? Okay, so when I mentioned a scene that didn't happen, that still could happen, what was your guess that I was talking about?
Oh, I assumed you're talking about young Aegon and Viserys going on the Gay Abandon. They're actually in the battle, and that's what starts the whole battle. And then Aegon ends up flying on, the younger Aegon, Rhaenyra's son, ends up flying on his dragon, escaping, and Viserys ends up getting taken captive. And that happens at the beginning of the Battle of the Gullet. And we see these two kids being like walking toward, like, I thought the Vale was far from the sea, but they're walking from the Vale to like go off to Essos, and that's when we see them last. So we know they're planning to do something similar as what is in the book, but they didn't do it when it happens in the book. So is that what you're talking about? You're talking about something different?
Yes, that's exactly what I'm talking about. I'm actually more of the mind that they're not going to do it.
But they set up for it at the end of last season.
I mean, they could have just gotten the Pentos safely, and then they spend.
Well, then how's? So then Aegon will just come back later and be king, because that's what happens. Like,
I mean, yeah, I don't know how they would do that, because, well, here's the thing: there were several reasons why I didn't think they were going to do the Gay Abandon the way they did. They made the kids younger in the show, and the dragons were tiny. It's like in the book, Aegon rides his dragon back to Dragonstone for safety, but I like that dragon's too small to ride, and he's too young, and so that made me think that they weren't going to do it that way. They could very well just make up an excuse. Maybe when Rhaenyra takes King's Landing, she's like, "Oh no, they're good to safe. They're safe to come back. They can come chill out with me now." They just come back.
I was watching a video that showed, like, I wouldn't remember this, but last season they showed that they have 4 dragon eggs that they were taking with them. One of them would belong to young Viserys, And so the theory is the other three are the ones that ultimately.
Oh yeah,
with Daenerys.
I thought the showrunners actually confirmed that was the case. Maybe not. I don't know.
I don't know that. Maybe.
Yeah.
But so that they do have to go to Pentos then, if those eggs need to get over there. So, yeah, that is a good point. But I think they still could do it differently. Like they still could make it so Viserys gets captured and then Aegon ends up back at Dragonstone through a different means, not through riding his tiny little dragon. Because you're right, it was a little small. So I think it's some version of it could still happen. I mean, because they did set up, they are going to Pentos. So I don't know.
I guess what they could do is that they could have some other agents, maybe Traki or something, attack them in Pentos and manage to abduct Viserys, and then they're all freaked out about Aegon, so they send him back to King's Landing. They could do something like that.
Yeah.
So because that wouldn't require him to ride the dragon to safety.
Yeah, I think you could see something like that, or I'm sure there are going to be other people with them, so one of them could be like is able to escape with Aegon, but not with Viserys.
Yeah.
So we could see something like that happening. Yeah, I don't know. It would be interesting because I think Rhaena was supposed to be watching them. So if like they get captured,
that's another reason.
Double fucked up. Yeah. So yeah.
It makes me wonder if the show is going to make it total, because we know George R. R. Martin was pissed off with some of the changes, and he's like, some of the ones what they want to do in season 3 is even worse. So it makes me wonder if they're just going to abandon this entire storyline and just write young Aegon and young Viserys out of the show entirely.
Well, I mean, it has to end with him being king. Like, there's no other way to end it. So
well, and further, like he needs to be there when Rhaenyra dies. Like to me, that would be like too massive of it. Because didn't even Joffrey even mention that in Game of Thrones? He's like, Rhaenyra's son watched her get eaten by her dragon. So
spoilers from Joffrey's. Yeah, but there's spoilers in House of the Dragon. I almost mentioned this during our discussion, but I didn't want to necessarily draw attention to it because Helena is a walking spoiler machine.
Oh yeah.
Because one of the reasons Daemon is hesitant to go to Harrenhal is because Helena told him that he gets swallowed up by the Godswood. So, Helena with her spoilers. That's what's going to happen to him. But, yeah, so, I don't know. Like, if they didn't set up for them going off to Pentos last season, I would just say they're just going to abandon all of that and just keep them there. And just, because then... after Joffrey dies, I think is when. How
does Joffrey die again? I don't remember. And where is he right now? Did he also go to Pentos? I think in the show he went to Pentos with them.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think he does. Yeah. So maybe it's Joffrey. Maybe in the show Joffrey saves Aegon on his dragon because Joffrey has a dragon.
Oh, does he?
Yeah, I don't remember. I mean, in the book he does. I don't remember.
I don't remember in the show if he did or how big it was.
Yeah, I mean, but he should. So maybe that's what happens. But I think, I think then Rhaenyra keeps Aegon as her cupbearer and keeps him by her side everywhere. So
how does Joffrey die in the book? I don't know.
Actually, I think where I'm at, I don't think he's died yet.
Okay.
So I don't remember how he dies in the book.
Was it during the chaos at King's Landing or something when the?
Maybe It might have been during all that stuff. I think.
Oh yeah, no, because he tried to ride Rhaenyra's dragon to stop it,
Oh yeah.
but she didn't recognize him as a rider, so like just threw him off.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So I don't know. Like, yeah, I would have thought that they would maybe just keep them there, but they're not. They're sending them to Pinto. So I don't know what the hell they're gonna do. I have no idea.
Well, as I mentioned, there's reviews of reviewers who watched the first 4 episodes and they talked about a bunch of changes. They're like, I don't like these changes. Why are they making them? So I do expect like they are going to do things like very different.
Well, they already have, like, because they didn't get
Like even more so going forward.
Okay. Yeah. Well, we'll see.
Was there something we wanted to say about Nettles?
I
you want to talk about why she's not that important?
Yeah, I just find it so fascinating that people get so attached to these characters that aren't even developed. They're like, oh no, you have to have her. The guy in the chat earlier in all caps, extremely important. Why?
Yeah.
Explain to me why she's that important. All she does is she becomes Daemon's paramour, and then then Rhaenyra freaks out and wants to kill all the bastards and orders some lord, what's his name, to kill Nettles, and
Lord, what's his nuts?
there's a lot of lords. Yeah, and I don't know, I kind of don't see Rhaenyra reacting the same way, even if she does have this character change that they're setting up for her. I don't see her being quite as kill all the bastards as she
No, I can't see that. Yeah, even if they try to make her more like crazier, it does seem like this episode was starting like she's starting to go a bit like nuts. But I can't see her getting to the point of actively wanting to kill Adam.
Yeah, I could see maybe one of her stupid white dudes might be like, "Oh, we need to kill Adam," and maybe she'll reluctantly agree.
Oh,
I could
or maybe they do it
see
behind
that.
her. Or maybe they do it behind her back.
Yeah, I could see.
Oh,
but I can't
but
see her being as gung ho as she is.
yeah, but also in the book, she like imprisons Corlys because he hides Adam.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah,
And I definitely can't see that.
Yeah, I have a hard time seeing the way that they have built her character in the show getting to that point. And they've also softened Alicent a lot as well.
Yeah.
So I don't. So show Alicent doing what she does that everybody complained about, I think makes a lot of sense. And then show Rhaenyra, I can't see going quite as crazy about killing the bastards. But even if she did, do you need Nettles? Do you need another bastard for her to kill? Does it matter? Like, why? I would ask why is Nettles important? She really isn't. You take her right out of the story and nothing matters. Like,
So
does Daemon need like another girl that he sleeps with? Is that necessary?
So I think Daemon like separates from Rhaenyra and like leaves her, and Nettles I think had a lot to do with that. So maybe that's what they were talking about.
Yeah.
But I mean they could come up with another reason why Daemon would.
Or he doesn't, and he just dies. I don't know. Like, I don't
yeah, that's true. He doesn't necessarily need to leave her.
Because I feel like they kind of put that storyline into season 2, because that doesn't happen in the book with him going away and like, will he turn against Rhaenyra or will he not? So that whole thing was added to the show. So I kind of feel like they already did that storyline, and so they're not going to repeat it again. So I don't think that that's what's going to happen in the show. Like, so I don't see why you need Nettles at all. So I'm sorry, she's not very important. She's not extremely important. No, she really isn't.
Well, and there was I don't remember her name, but there was some character. I think she ends up with Kragan Stark at the end of the Dance of Dragons. But there's some character someone suggested like she could be the one that gets with Daemon instead of Nettles.
I don't remember.
Yeah, someone from the Riverlands.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm curious because Alice Rivers hooks up with Aemon in the book. So
Oh yeah, that's right.
so I'm curious if that's going to happen. I think it probably is going to happen.
Yeah, I could definitely see that happening.
Yeah. Just since she's an older woman, that's Aemon's.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know. So it'll be, but yeah, but she was also like helping Daemon a lot. So I don't know. It'll be really
I
interesting.
could see her as being kind of neutral and just pushing people to where she knows they're going to be.
Yeah.
Not really taking sides, but
Yeah. I don't know. Yeah, so I'll be interested to see if they keep that storyline with Alice Rivers and Daemon. But yeah, I kind of think they're not going to have Daemon go off with anybody because I feel like they already kind of did that. So I don't know. That's my feeling on it.
not really. He didn't have an affair. They could still have him have an affair.
Yeah, I suppose. But the whole separating from Rhaenyra thing he already did.
Yeah, I suppose. Yeah, I don't know. They could end up doing things totally different.
Yeah.
But so I also wanted to talk about the Ormound Hightower because it looks now that they are going to make like Tumbleton and all that like a major plot point. I was wondering before if they were just going to glaze over it because there's no real main characters there, but it seems like they're going to make him a main character. And so I wonder if they're also going to make, because in the book they had all those other lords who were like feuding with Ormond, and eventually things fell apart or whatever. They all like betrayed each other. So I wonder if they're going to introduce like all these lords because he needs other characters to play off of.
Yeah.
Other than just Daemon.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm sure they will. I'm sure they'll introduce those people or some of them.
And I'm really curious to see how they handle Hugh's wife, who doesn't exist in the book, who apparently in the show is in Tumbleton.
Yeah. So I think that is going to be the motivation for Hugh to, I don't know, I think something about his wife, I don't know if they'll kidnap his wife and blackmail him, because he is not the asshole that he is in the book. Like,
Yes.
He seems like a good guy. Ulf is kind of the same. Like Ulf is they're clearly setting up Ulf to turn on Daenerys, or not Daenerys, Rhaenyra, because he wants to be a lord. I mean, that's clear. They may even show somebody like Laris Clubfoot or somebody offer him a lordship, or maybe maybe he'll meet Ormond and Ormond will offer him a lordship or something, or say on behalf of King Aegon will offer you a lordship.
I could even see like Ulf going to Ormond and be like, "Hey, if you offer me a lordship, I'll turn to your side," or something like that.
Yeah, so I think Ulf is the same as the book. Hugh the Hammer is nothing like he is in the book.
Yeah.
And he has this wife, like you said, that doesn't exist in the book. So I think he's still gonna turn on them, but I think it might be for different reasons. Maybe I
think it's gonna be totally different. Like I couldn't see him like crowning himself king and all that bullshit.
He's very, very different in the show.
Yeah.
Than he is in the book. He's a very different character.
So, but yeah, when Darrin was here, I had to stop myself from pointing out how obvious they're making that Ulf is going to turn. I think they're making it a little too obvious, kind of like they did with Anakin in episode 2, making the number one candidate to turn to the dark side. I think like they're kind of doing the same thing with Ulf, like number one candidate to betray Rhaenyra.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think they're making it too obvious, but it won't be a surprise to anyone. Yeah. Whereas, yeah, Hugh and the Hammer is a lot more interesting. I think it's probably is going to have something to do with his wife. That maybe they're going to like kidnap her, like do what we say we're going to kill her or something. You know.
I hope not. That's like 24.
I mean, hopefully be a little more creative than that. But I think his wife is going to be involved in there. So
yeah, somehow. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's going to be something like that because yeah, I'm like 24. Yeah, so I do think, or maybe they offer him and his wife, you know, a big castle, a nice place to live, and so. But I think it's gonna have something to do with his wife. It's not gonna be the same as it is in the book for sure.
Yeah. I do wonder if they're still gonna do the thing with that priest or whatever. I can't even remember
The shepherd.
The shepherd, yeah.
I always assumed that they would, but
yeah. I think they kind of have to, though. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. They could do something totally different.
I kind of feel like that might be a season 4 story.
Yes.
Yeah.
There might be a character they introduce. I just want. They're going to have to streamline everything if they're only having 4 seasons. And only 8 episodes this season, 8 episodes next season.
Yeah, I think. I don't know. There's a lot that happens after Rhaenyra is after she loses Dragon or loses King's Landing. I think they're just gonna cut out all that shit. Like I think she disappears for a little while too in the book.
Does she?
Yeah, she just. I haven't gotten that part of my re-listen, but to the best of my memory, she just she goes and does stuff like that. I think will just.
But I feel like. During that time period, the book focuses on a lot of not main characters in the show. So I agree. I think they're just going to cut all that out.
Yeah, I think it's going to be streamlined from when Rhaenyra loses King's Landing to then what happens at the end. I think they're going to get just straight to it.
So I think it's. That she's still gonna have King's Landing at the end of the season. I think the shit with her.
I'm a little worried that they're gonna wait till the end of the season to even give her King's Landing. But
oh well, if you watch the trailer, the trailer gives it away that she's got King's Landing. So I actually think it's gonna happen either next episode or episode 3. I feel like
it better. It should.
Yeah.
And this is I think in a Game of Thrones type format, this should have been Battle of the Gullet. Episode 9, Rhaenyra taking King's Landing.
Yes, that's what I predicted. That would have made so much sense. Yeah, I think in my original prediction, I had to Battle the Goal. It was episode 6 of season 2.
Yeah. I think it really should have been. I said all along, that would be the perfect ending to season 2. Rhaenyra taking and she sits down there on throne. That should have been the ending.
Exactly, because it kind of pissed me off that the trailer spoiled that she takes King's Landing, and really you're not gonna have it happen in the season 2. You're gonna reveal it in the trailer. They should have just had it happen.
Yeah. So. But I think, I do wonder when it will happen. I do still feel like the Shepherd might be a season 4 thing.
Yeah, I think so. I think so. I can't think of. Well, it's been a while since I read the book, but I can't think of what event's going to happen at the end of this season. Because I was thinking maybe Daemon and Aemon dying, but I think that's going to be a season 4 thing as well.
I think it's going to be the end of this season.
Oh, you do? Okay.
Yeah, I do.
All right.
Because Aemon's going to Harrenhal now. I think they'll set it up for the end of the season.
Well,
and I think they're going to cut out. I do think they're going to cut out Daemon being with another woman. I think it's all going to get cut out, and they're going to go right to boom. They're going to kill each other.
Well, no. What's going to happen is when Aemon gets to Harrenhal, he's going to sit around and have visions and talk to And he's just gonna mope around and have visions for the entire season and not do anything.
I think that would frustrate everybody. Yeah.
All right. Yeah, unless there's anything else you want to talk about, we can probably end here.
Yeah, no, I'm good.
All right. Okay. Well, thanks everyone for watching. Everyone is still here. I hope you've read the books already. But if you spoiled yourself, that was your choice. But anyway, thanks so much for watching. Alyssa, I don't know if you really have anything you want to shout out, but if you do.
Yeah, no, I'll be here next week. That's about it.
Okay. And you can check me out. My name's Mark, channel Enchantment of Eternity. Be covering mostly Star Trek, doing tons of Star Trek videos. But yeah, I'll be here every week, these live streams for House of the Dragon. So thanks so much for watching. Be sure to subscribe. See you next time.